I want to
Yeah.
ask you how your week was, but I think I can tell based on how this morning's going.
Oh no, my week was fantastic. Always, always, always. So, yeah, Darren, just tell us if you can hear us clear on Instagram, and if you don't hear an echo. Laura, hello, Laura. My friend Laura is also watching. Hi, Laura. And also, Darren, if you have any questions, you know how it gets at the end with all the questions, and we only have about half an hour. Okay, so Darren is saying this is my content page. What kind of content do you post, Darren? Okay, so we are live on Facebook as well. If you are watching, please let us know. Let us know where you're watching from. Are you all doing fine in this chilly weather? Yeah, so Jandre, my week was absolutely fabulous. On Friday, we had a lovely session. We met up with a lot of women from our training, from our business school. And I think the one thing that stood out for me was the fact that entrepreneurs feel so alone, and they feel like they're going through this journey of life and business all alone, and they get so in their head. So being in a community like that was really amazing. Yeah, and I think a lot of people just everyone just feels like they're not good enough, like that is something that really stood out. And then they hear other people feel that way as well. So yeah, it was quite interesting.
I
So
don't think it's just
Sharon,
I don't think it's just
yeah.
people who do their own thing that feels lonely. I think everybody feels lonely. I think we're in a time where everybody is more isolated than ever. I think we work from home. We're isolated in terms of our environment. We have our computers, which makes us perceive reality completely different to what we would have been perceiving if we were working with people in person. Uh, I feel like we're living in a time when nobody wants to really be authentic and real and just express how they truly feel, and everybody just pretends like they're amazing. And everybody just pretends like they've got life figured out when no one really knows what the fuck they're doing. I think
Mm.
at the end of the day, there's this facade that life is always greener on the other side, and wherever you are, it's the wrong side. I think that's kind of like the feeling that I'm getting is that everybody thinks that the grass is greener on the other side, and wherever they are right now, no matter how many times they've jumped the fence, that's the wrong side. And the problem is not society. The problem is not the economy. The problem is not the fact that we live most of our lives on computers now, especially if you're in a digital world.
Mm.
I think the problem is yourself. The problem is you and your your own mind. I think we live most of our lives, all of your life in your mind. So you better make sure that it's a good place to be. You know,
Wow.
imagine that you live in a house, but your house is all messy and dirty. And I think that's most people's minds. They don't take the time to scrub the walls. They don't take the time to clean the floors. They don't take the time to wash the dishes. So the mind just gets cluttered, and they don't take the time to reflect and just clean up so they can actually have peace within themselves. My opinion.
Yeah, that's very true. And something I work with a lot is trying to help people to get themselves out there. Yesterday, we did a live with also one of my members on Facebook, just like this. Guys, if you're watching, please let us know where you're watching from. If you've got any questions, ask them now, because we normally get all our questions at the end, then we can't get to all of it. But anyway, so I spoke to this woman because we did this challenge, a review challenge. So I asked all my students to go and get reviews so they can show it off. And she was the winner. So we did this live. And she was just saying on the live, you know what? I am so shy, and it's so difficult for me to put myself out there. I feel, I really feel uncomfortable. And I think that is something that most people feel. But it's just about understanding that you're not the only one feeling that way. And what I actually told her, and this is so powerful, is no one sees what's going on in this head of ours. So while we are cleaning up our head and our mind, No one sees the thoughts we have before we post or before we take that action. People only see our action. So this is the strange thing. Before you want to post and you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, what are people going to think of me? And then you either don't post, so people don't see that action, or you do post and people are like, oh, wow, I see your post. And that's always how it is. And then we don't realize people only see our action. So on the outside, it looks like, because this person is posting, it looks like they are confident, they know what they're doing. Whereas it might be that you don't feel that way. So a lot of the times, what I feel helps a lot is if you take action, regardless of those feelings, while you are working out and trying to clean up the mess in your mind, is just to take action anyway, and just to go out there and post anyway. And what's very interesting is, in my work with working with a lot of celebrities, people with lots of followers, they also don't like social media, but they understand the benefits. They also don't know what to post, but they do it anyway. And we always look at them and think, they love being on social media. Actually, they don't. They also don't like it. But it's sort of like understanding it's kind of like this business function. And you sort of have to separate it from you, feeling like I'm not good enough. Just do it anyway. Yeah, so that is.
I think it's safe to assume there's two things I want to comment. It's like, I mean, if you look at my Instagram, it's all business stuff, and there's not a lot of personal stuff on there the way it used to be like 3 or 4 5 years ago. The point I'm trying to make is that to me it's a complete difference. I'm purely using it for business. I mean, I'm myself on those channels, and what you see is what you get, but that's a different version of Jandre. That's the Jandre that talks about things and business and things I enjoy and find passionate about. It's not the Jandre that sits at home with my kids and my wife. And there's different versions of all of us, right? And I think everybody thinks there's just one version of fit, but that's not true. And at the same time, it's understanding that we couldn't care less about what people say about what I put out, in terms of whether it's maybe sometimes grammatically incorrect, or whether it is maybe not the best advice. And I always say that I don't believe in advice. I believe in perspectives. Advice is, this is what you should do next in order to achieve X result. But that's impossible to do, depending on so many variables and factors. So perspective is just something that you take and include it into your decision-making process to determine the next step for yourself to achieve the goal. So I like sharing perspectives, because I do know that the people, at least who communicate back to me, they find it valuable. And whether they are people in my network, maybe my immediate family that I don't even know about, or friends that I don't know about, who probably sit there and go, well, that's cringe. So what? So what if it's cringe? What is the worst thing that's going to happen? What is the worst thing that's going to happen? And we really just inflate worst case scenarios for ourselves. And getting back to the thought process and our emotions and doing the action regardless of it. I think one thing I've learned is that, what is an emotion? If you need to understand the science of an emotion, then you're not going to be worried about your emotions that much. I think so many people give so much credit to how they feel, but you need to understand that feeling in itself is actually a flawed system, completely flawed. Let me explain. It's flawed because emotion stems from the repetitive thoughts that you're having. Repetitive thoughts that you're having stem from certain belief systems that you've adapted. Those belief systems weren't voluntarily adapted. It happened to you involuntarily, and it was programmed into your belief system, aka your mind, by your parents and your peers and friends and colleagues and situations and traumatic events and sometimes good events. So when you start to understand that your emotions is just a reflection of thoughts, number one. Jandre, your YouTube link has not gone live. Oh, I'm sorry.
It
That's
says
weird.
here it's live, but
Yeah, it says you are live. But maybe just hang back and stay on Facebook for a while. Thanks for that. When you start to understand that your emotions are just a result of the thoughts, your thoughts are a result of your mind, and your mind is a result of programming, then you start to understand that the emotions that you have is not really you. So when you feel inferior, when you feel a bit of shame, when you feel stress or anxiety to do something, that is not you. It's not Jandre. It's not Magriet. It's just a result of certain shit that's happening to your life, but that does not have to define who you are in that moment. And when you understand the science of it, you can then take action a lot easier, because then you realize the fear that you're having, that's really just an illusion based on the emotions, the thoughts, and the program that all resulted into that fear. Or whether it's a lack of confidence, whether it's a lack of belief in yourself, whether it is stress or anxiety. All of that is just a result of shit that you didn't have no control over. So you've just accepted all of that. And now you're defining yourself based on that. And that's this freaking stupid thing to do when you understand the science. So when you can disconnect from your emotions, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel, because there are times when your emotions are 100% valid, like in the process of grief. You know, if someone leaves, exits this realm, and their physical presence is gone, of course, the feeling that you have is 100% valid. But you need to develop the self-awareness to determine when are the emotions valid and when are they just invalid or completely neurotic or just not actually authentic to the version that you actually want to be. And I think most people just don't know how to do that.
Wow, yeah. So, what can we take from this? I think we should challenge everyone watching to go and make a post today, regardless of how they feel about posting on social media. So, let me know if you are in, if you are going to make a post, and also what is it that is keeping you from posting on social media and sharing your
Well, it doesn't just have
message.
to be posting. It could be anything, right? I mean, let's just broaden the
Yeah,
perspective a little bit. It's like obviously we talk about posting because you talk about social media, but it could
yeah.
be running your first ad. It could be
Hmm.
starting something. It could be quitting something. When I say I don't like the word use the word quit. It means firing certain people from your life. It means
Yes.
firing maybe a job that you hate. And I think in essence, it's taking whatever next step you need to take for yourself, regardless of the emotions that you feel. But if you can objectively look at it and know that the next step is constructive to you and your future,
Mm.
then regardless of the emotion that you feel, it's something that you should do. And when you start to understand the science behind your emotions, that step becomes more a lot easier to achieve as well. So it's just setting the goals. I mean, we are in Q3 now. We literally moving into the second half of the year, and I mean, 50%, 51% of the year is gone. So the question is now you've got 49% left. Actually, less because most people already clock off in December. So
Mm.
you've got about 40% left. So the reality is, what are you going to do with the remaining 40% of this year before you start to make the exact same New Year's resolutions next year?
So that you can be at a better place this time next year. So Darren from Cape Town Scene says he's in on making a post. Darren, we are going to have a look at your Instagram to see. I'm excited for you. Yeah, I think what you said about just taking that next step, it could be also maybe contacting someone that you had problems with and maybe forgiving someone, or maybe
Oh yeah,
calling someone that you know can open the door for you. So there are many things that we know that we should be doing. So yeah, whether it's posting on social media or taking that next step.
and I think
Um,
what you said there is very valid. And there's an immediate family member that I can kind of like resonate with, and they find themselves in a position where they need to be having conversations with friends and colleagues, which they're not having, because certain relationships are just not constructive to them anymore, and it's a matter of going enough. This is now time for change, and some people don't want to change because this specific example, the person is saying, I don't want people to think bad about me. I don't want people to think that I'm an asshole or a little selfish. The reality is, you're not being selfish. you're putting up boundaries. There's a difference.
There's a big
And
difference.
there's a big difference. And taking care of yourself, uh, as long as you can take care of yourself without the expense of,
Mm.
someone else, that's when you essentially start to do the right things. Because sometimes we just think that the best things for us are sometimes selfish to other people. That's not necessarily the case.
Mm.
And sometimes the actions that you take, what the other person perceives, you have zero control over. You have zero control over how people are going to perceive you when you post. You've got zero control how people are going to perceive you when you start running your ads or your brand, how they're going to perceive your brand. You've got zero control over how someone is going to perceive. But as long as the decision that you are making and whatever you're doing is with the right energy, and this touches on last week's episode, right? Where that energy is pure, and that energy is love, and that energy is gratitude, and that energy is just good intentions. It's as long as your intentions are pure and you know that you're doing it because it's constructive to you. And if looked at the right way, it's not necessarily going to hurt anybody around you. In fact, it's
Mm.
maybe a lesson for those people to gain a level of self-awareness to go, maybe I do expect too much, or maybe I should, stop doing X or stop doing Y. So I think everybody is just so fearful to take action, regardless of what it
Mm.
is. And I envision a time when people would feel comfortable to be their most authentic versions, regardless of whether that's posting or running ads or building a business or just stepping up in a company or taking more responsibility or asking for a raise, whatever it is. As long as you can just be the most authentic version of yourself, and the actions that you're taking is with good intent and with love, and then I believe it's constructive for everybody around you too, because that's just the energy that you're putting up.
Oh, I see Oak Leather is watching. That is Nanette. Nanette was amazing. She started to run ads, her own ad. She couldn't run ads before, and she really did so well. Nanette, say hi if you are still watching. Um, but what you're saying, it also makes me think about charging for people. Like I know a lot of the times and I don't know if it's only women. Well, I find this a lot with women, but we sometimes find it so difficult to charge for our services. What you said earlier is, asking for a raise if you're working for a boss. A lot of the times we just accept being paid less. We just accept doing stuff for free. And so Nanette is saying, "Hi, I'm a lurker. Hi, Nanette. Yeah, I'm so proud of you with your videos. I keep seeing your ads. So she's got a online store. She actually has a physical store in Clarence, but she's got an online leather store, and she's running her own ads. I'm so proud of her. I just wanted to say.
Right.
Yeah, I think we sometimes have a big problem with charging for, just and it also comes to those boundaries. We would do things for free. I know I am very guilty of this sometimes. Like I just want to help people, and then a lot of the times I'm like, yeah, let me just help you. Let me help you for free. And then sometimes there's a difference, like you have to charge, and I find that a lot of my students also struggle with that. It's sort of like that money mindset.
Well,
I'm much
my
better, but yeah.
here's my spin on it. It's not that we have to charge for everything we do, but it's that if you want to do something for free because you want to, then do that, but don't expect money in exchange because you just decided that you want to do it for free. This is the
Mm,
problem. Sometimes we want to charge money, but we feel too bad, so we decide to do it for free. That's the
mm,
thing. Like I do a lot of free stuff all the time. Like I give people free advice. I jump on calls sometimes to help people that are not even a client because I feel like it. I have conversations and I give business opportunities. I put people in touch that I think will help each other, and I do those things because I want to, and I don't expect anything in exchange. But then my expectation is not to get anything back. So now I'm not doing that so that that person should give me something back. This is what a lot of people don't understand, right? So they want to go, I'm going to do you a favor not going to ask you anything. But then secretly, I expect you to do the same thing for me when I need a favor. And that's the problem.
Mm.
Because now all you're doing is you're scheming. You're not really doing something for free. You're actually scheming. You're going, well, if I want to do this for free, then maybe I'm going to ask you a favor 6 months from now, and hopefully you're going to do that for me. And then what happens is that person says no 6 months later. Then you go, how dare they say no? I did that for them, and I didn't even charge them a cent. Yeah, because you didn't want to. Because you actually a scheming asshole. And I think what we need to understand is you need to ask yourself, do you want to ask money or not? If you don't, and you feel you want to do it for free out of love and gratitude and abundance, do it for free. But don't expect anything back because you decided to do it for free. Number two, if you want to charge money for something, then ask the price that you feel is fair. And this is where we can go into our belief systems and charge accordingly for what the service is actually valued at, etc. But from my perspective, it's a matter of you being authentic to yourself and not maliciously. And sometimes it's not even malicious, but we go, I did that free for them, and the least they could have done. No, the least they could have done is nothing because you did that for free and you wanted to. So shut up.
Yeah, that's a different way of thinking of it. I see Josie saying, Magriet, totally agree with the comment on charging. It really hindered my business. So maybe we should go into that. Celeste is saying you have to align your heart set and mindset should align when you do something for someone. It is so true, Celeste.
So what do you want to go into, Magriet, if I may? Do you want to talk about
Maybe the chart, because what Josie is saying is it really hindered the business not being able to charge the right fees, or maybe feeling like you're charging too much for your services or for your products. I think people don't really know how to charge themselves. How much should I charge for my service? How much should I charge? And people sort of like just charge
Yeah, so
something.
here's the first thing that I can say to that is, like, most people who start businesses are not business owners, they're just enthusiasts. And I made a post about this in this week. Or actually, it's maybe still coming. I recorded it last week. It's probably coming up tonight or tomorrow. So here's the problem. And I'm going to be very frank. Like, I'm not someone. Please understand that my intentions are as pure as possible. You know, so you know when I say everything I say is honest. Like, I'm not here. I'm really. I want to see everybody win. I really do. Like, I'm not. I live in abundance. In everything I say is really the best intentions possible. But someone has to call a spade, because otherwise we're going to live in a dream world where we just assume everybody's doing better than us, and it's a victim mentality that we can't do anything right. So here's the reality: most people who start businesses, 70% of them in the digital world specifically, are not business owners, which means they don't know how to value their own services. They don't know how to determine their costs, their margins, their operating expenses. They don't know how to plan for that. They don't know how to plan for tax. They don't know any of those things. And at the same time, we learn marketing. So we learn how to sell, but we never learn how to run a business. And that's the biggest problem with new entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs today. So we do a course, and this is not a diss at any of the information that you put out. I think the information you put out is flipping amazing. I really do. But the point is that we watch a YouTube video, we buy some online guru's course about how to sell, and then we start selling. But nobody has taught that person the actual foundation of going, this is how you price your product. This is what your margins should be. This is essentially what you need to leave in order to operate the business with, because after selling the product, that profit is not yours. It is now the business's profit. And you need to pay people, staff, salaries, rent, warehousing. And then after that profit is left, that profit is still not yours. A percentage of that belongs to SARS, and we call that VAT. This is now more on the top line revenue side. But then on the bottom line, there's another portion that goes to SARS, and that is tax. And that is what is left. That is yours. And you can spend that the way that you want to before you buy that new car, before you go on, take your family on a holiday. Nobody's teaching this. So it's financial literacy is really what I'm referring to, but applicable to running a business. So that's the first thing that I think it just annoys me is that people bitch and moan about their businesses, but none of them know how to run their business. And I see that all the time, having worked with over 400 business owners, is that everybody wants to grow in sales. And when they do, and the business goes backwards, they blame everybody else. And yeah, I'm going to go off on a rant, which is not necessary right now. But the point is, very few people actually have the financial literacy in order to run a business successfully. Number one, when you start to understand the financial literacy of running a business, you can start to evaluate what you should be charging for your services, as opposed to going, I think my services is worth $5,000 because that's what everybody else does. Okay, that's fine. You can do that. But don't be upset if you run backwards, because you're basing your business on so many assumptions and zero tangible data. So first thing you need to do is go, what is your time worth? What is your colleague's time worth? What is the software that you're using worth? All these things. Now go and put a markup on it. What is the industry average markup? Amazing. Put that onto the cost price of delivering the service. Now you can start to come up with a fair price that you should be charging for your service. And if a customer comes and they go, you know what, I don't want to pay that price, I want to pay less, you have two options. You can even accept it, but then you need to take responsibility if your business goes backwards. Because now what we do is we go, you know what, my business is falling apart because people just don't want to pay me enough. You know what, you can't convince people to pay you a fair price. So that is your own fault as an entrepreneur, because the first thing that you should be doing as an entrepreneur is you should innovate around your products or services, and you should have the financial literacy to come up with a fair price for those services. And if someone doesn't want to pay a fair price for those services, then you suck at selling, and you need to get better at selling so that you can convince them of the value, so that they feel it's fair to pay that price. Those are the three things that people don't do. And that's when they start to moan about the fact that they're not charging enough. And then we can talk about beliefs, because here's the other thing. If you truly believe in your service, then you will believe in the price that you're charging as well. So if you're not charging enough, most likely you're just not believing enough in your service.
Absolutely. Mariet is saying, I also have a problem with charging. I'm a graphic designer, so I actually sell my time. So what you should actually, what I found with charging more is you actually attract better customers. This is the best thing about actually charging more. So even for you, Marita, if you really go and think of the customers that you currently have, and what you are charging, thinking to yourself, isn't there a higher level of customer that I can attract if I charge more? Because a lot of the times we feel like if we charge more, we're not going to have any clients.
But in fact, just one thing I want to say.
Yes.
We shouldn't be thinking charging more. We should be thinking charging fair. More is not better. Because if you charge more, the customer is going to want more too.
Yes,
and
yes.
You're going to under-deliver, and you're going to look like a chop if you can't deliver on that value. So if we just think, and I know what you're actually saying fair, but you're using the word more. Because most of your people are not charging a fair price. So just to blanket statement, what you're actually saying is charging a fair price, because most of the people in your network don't have the belief to actually charge a fair price. But I need to also interject and say there are people who probably already charging a fair price and now thinking, I can charge more so I can make more money and screw people over. That's not the point. The point is to charge a fair price for the product and service that you're delivering. And if the people that you're selling to don't think it's fair, you're either not convincing them that it's valuable, or you're selling to the wrong people. And that's what you're saying is go and find the people who believe that your product and price is actually fairly priced, and go and work with them, because they're going to just be better clients to work with.
Absolutely. And then you can give them such a better service. Divan is saying we are taught to be the lesser in every situation and be humble that usually, in my experience, leads to being overlooked because in their eyes you seem uncertain or not assertive enough. And I think this goes back to what you said about the belief systems that we have. And a lot of the times it comes from how we were brought up, and I've got a very good book here around the kind of poverty mindset. And once you start to realize you're actually in a victim mindset, a poverty mindset, it is amazing to see how you are actually manifesting that poverty, or that over your life, because we confuse being humble with not having boundaries, letting people walk over us. And there is a big confusion. You can be humble and have very strong boundaries around your time and money. Being humble doesn't mean letting people walk over you, letting people use you, doing things that you're not charging correctly. So yeah, that's just what. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. Sharon is saying giving value. Ray from Lifestyle Awnings Solutions is saying a great book to read for newbies is Piece by Piece by Katie Hyde. It's a business coaching book. I know she spoke about this before. Do you know this book?
No, I don't know the book, but I can assume what it's all about. And I've read many books on that internal piece and also building a business I like to call it peaceful profits. And it's very difficult to create peaceful profits for ourselves, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, and when I say profits, I'm referring to, it could be anybody working in a company, the money that you're taking home should ideally be peaceful. And it is hard because everybody's got different roles to play in a business. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's going to be tough, especially for the first 3 or 4 or 5 years. It's always tough, but I think those first 3 years, like, there's a lot of hats that you have to wear, and there's a lot of different emotions that comes with those roles and responsibilities. But the goal is peaceful profits, and how you do that is not just sweating the small stuff, in my opinion. And I think we get so worked up over things that really don't matter. And big picture, I always ask myself, is this something that I'm going to remember 5 years from now? This event. So let's, for example, say something happens in the country and it's issue that needs to be dealt with. Let's not take away from the severity of the matter that it has to be dealt with. Let's not take away from the fact that it is important to fix it. And then let's not take away from the fact that there's lessons to be learned. So let's keep those 3 things in mind. But can we ask ourselves if it's really necessary to go off on an emotional tangent? And is it really worth, those emotional overwhelm? Or is there a little bit of irrational processing happening in the back of your mind that is causing this overwhelmed feeling? Because in reality, if you had to zoom out and look at the next 5 years of your life, this is most likely not something that you're going to remember unless you want to remember it. But this is not going to make the highlight reel of your life. If there was a highlight reel of the last 5 years, it's definitely going to not make it in there. And if you had to make a highlight reel of all the best things and even all the worst things, it's most likely still not going to be. So the point is it really necessary to to change your body's physiology over a period of days over that particular thing that happened? And the answer is no. But again, it does not take away from the fact that it has to be attended to. It doesn't take away from the fact that hours have to be put in to fix it. And that shouldn't be taken away from the fact that there's lessons to be learned in order to improve not only the people involved, but also the business as a whole. And I think that is just a perspective that I've adapted, which allows the revenue and the profits to be a little bit more peaceful. And the rest you don't really have control over. There's a book called, I think it's 365 Days of Stoicism or something like that. Every single day, there's a message from a philosopher or a Stoic, a little snippet with a breakdown of what it really means. And I think it's one of the first 10 quotes. I think it's Marcus Aurelius that said it. I can't remember. But the point is, he just said, At the end of the day, if you want to have a sane life, then all you can do is focus on the shit that you can control and not ignore, but don't sweat the things that you can't control. Doesn't mean you have to forget about it, but at the end of the day, it's like there's no point in getting emotionally worked up or to change your body's physiology to the point where it's actually not constructive for you as a human being, to that extent. So just food for thought.
And a practical way for me to do that is number one, to look at what I consume. So on social media, for instance, we can get so into this kind of funnel of what our competitors are doing, what other people are doing, that it actually has that effect on us. And I have found if we can just have that discipline to stop consuming the things that we don't need in our life, stop reading the news 5 times. You can read it once, because we are so bombarded with everything bad happening around the world, and we think we have to take it in. And if we think about 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even, we weren't bombarded about what was happening around the world. So it's as if we are consuming all the stuff that is happening in the world. And it's sort of like just taking over our mind. Whereas what I found, if I can be disciplined with my social media and really ask myself, is this constructive to take in, to consume? That really helps a lot to keep that calmness and that peace, and to keep that overwhelm, because that's also where a lot of overwhelm comes from. We look at what other people are doing, we're seeing our competitors are doing this, we see this person is doing so well, and also just having that boundary. So sometimes I would do research on what the market wants or what the competitors are doing, but that's different than just mindlessly consuming that and letting that making my mind toxic. And I think that's a practical tip for all of us today, is to what I always say is, we were all born to create. We are creative beings. We were born to create, to put out stuff, because it's when we create, when we give away our gift, that is when we mean something to the world. That is, and that is through your business, through what you are doing. When we give it away, that it gives it life. But what we are doing, we're consuming so much. So if we think of social media, we are the creator and the consumer, but we create way more than what we consume. So I always try to have a balance. If I'm not creating, and that could be anything, like be in my business, but especially with social media now, we're not supposed to consume more social media than what we are creating. So if we are not creating, putting out content, putting out a little bit of ourselves there, we shouldn't be consuming that, because the more we consume, the harder it becomes to create. So sometimes it's just about, detoxing from social media and starting to think, who am I? What is that gift that I have? What is it that I can share with the world? And it's connected to your business. A lot of the times we don't know what to share, but we have to think of our business not only as the product or the service we're selling, but why are we doing that? Why are we in this business? And what is our journey? And what is our life story and our experiences? So yesterday I was talking to this other woman, and she said they sell fresh fruit, and she doesn't know what to post. And I'm like, but why are you selling it? Why do you feel like you should sell this fruit to people? What is the benefit? And she was saying, well, it's organic, it's seasonal. And I'm like, but why is it important to eat organic food? Like, people don't know these things. Why are you so passionate to feed people these organic foods? Because I asked her, what makes you different? Why should we buy from you? And she was like, well,
Just focusing on the features and not the benefits. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And just going back, thinking, what is my story? Why am I in this business? What is the journey I walked to get here? And making that part of your brand story and starting to share that, because that is actually where the magic happens. That is where we find that, that inner gift that led us to being in this business today. And that is what we should be sharing. And when we can go down and just start to get creative again, just start to think, what is it that I can give the world? That is, oh, my phone. That is where we really start making a difference in the world. And to
Y-
me, that is when we really start to enjoy the journey and the process.
I think just touching on, you mentioned, getting lost on social media and looking at competitors and allowing it to create unnecessary anxiety and stress. I think I have a philosophy that I just follow for myself, and I've been following it for a lot of the V8. Well, one particular V8 Capital brand that we've been working on since June last year that's done exceptionally well. But the philosophy is, you can look at what competitors are doing and always be aware. So, I mean, we do market research on what everybody's doing. Like, it's good to know what people are doing.
Mm.
Obviously, that's important because it allows you to connect dots, which can further stimulate innovation. Okay, so it is good. Like, I don't think some people like I'm in some industries I'm completely ignorant to what my competitors are doing. Like in digital space, I'm sure other people do things that I should know about, but it's like, as long as what happens is, as long as the data, objective data, proves to me that nothing has to change, then don't change anything. Because there's key metrics in your business that you should be looking at and that you should scrutinize. And the moment those metrics are not what it should be, then yes, go to the drawing board, look at what everybody else is doing, and connect the dots so that you can then start to innovate your own business. But as long as revenue is going up and profits are increasing, what the hell are you worried about what people are doing? What does it matter? Why do you allow them to steal your joy? And I think that's such a easy thing to do, right? To be lose our happiness, and I mean happiness is really an internal thing. But let's say for that millisecond, you have peace and happiness with your business, which should be flawed because it's more of an internal thing, and you should never put your happiness on something external. But the point is, it will be taken away within a second. The moment you see that someone else is running a special, or the moment you see someone else is offering something new. And the reality is, if you have an offer in the market as an entrepreneur, you should always have a plan B and a plan C already in place. If you're running an offer right now and you don't have two other offers or two other game plans at your disposal, if this game plan is not working, then sorry, my friend, but you are the problem. And that's like playing chess. That's what, I don't know if you play chess. Like, I love chess because chess teaches you to think two steps in advance. Chess teaches you to think more than one step in advance, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. And at the same time, you analyzing the potential reactions of the opponent if those moves had to be made. So it allows you to think multidimensionally. And I think most people think one-dimensionally. I am going to put this offer in the market and I'm going to hope it works. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to always be innovating what you're putting into the market. Whatever you're running now is plan A. But if plan A doesn't work, do you have a plan B and a plan C in your arsenal to ensure the continued success of your business? And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. And I think there's one specific thing that's happening now. We put a specific offer in the market for one of the V8 Capital brands, and now many other brands are starting to copy that exact same offer. 2 or 3 in the last 2 months. And I'm looking there going, well, they don't know that I've already got 2 moves planned out because what they're doing is they're following, and what I'm doing and when I say it's like obviously a team thing, but what we're doing is we're ensuring that we already have the next 2 moves planned out, because every time we put if you're the leader in the market, you should know that people are going to follow you. So what you should be doing is going, boom, that is what we're doing. If people start to follow you and copy you or innovate on what you're doing, then you should already have 2 or 3 other ideas that can stack on top of what you're already doing to further improve and innovate your business. And I think we're just not thinking far ahead enough as entrepreneurs when it comes to business. And that's our own fault because nobody's teaching us this stuff. That's the problem. People are teaching us
Exactly.
people are teaching us how to sell online, but they're not teaching us how to run a business, how to manage the finances of a business, and how to actually think like a business owner. And
How to think like a business owner. That is big. Yeah. So I unfortunately have to go, but I don't know if you still want to say. Juanita is saying it's a compliment if they copy you, and Armando Junior is saying, Jandre, were you always this stoic? So I don't know if you still want to stay on, but I unfortunately have to go. Otherwise,
I'll have to shoot, unfortunately, as well, but I can
okay.
quickly answer these two questions. To answer Amanda, I don't think it's something that you just become. I think it's or wake up one day. I think it's just a compounding effect. A 0.5% increase every single week. That's what happens, and I'm only 10% of the way there. And there's no end, right, to this journey. That's what we need to understand. It's an infinite journey till the day you die. And I always say, we're here till we're 90. What's the rush, right? Like, where are we rushing to? So, number one. Number two, you wanted to say it's a compliment if they copy you. Yeah, I agree. Cool. Amazing conversation, Liana Smith. Appreciate that.
Yay.
Much
Thanks.
love, everybody. Have a good
Thanks,
one.
guys. It
All the
was
best.
lovely. See you. Have a great day. Let's end here.
Bye.
In stream.